Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Perfect World based on novel. So let's start. That figure approached from the distance, its steps carrying an indescribable type of rhythm, as if a divine drum was sounding, its beat ringing within others' hearts. If it was an ordinary individual who had recently become a deity here, when faced with these types of footsteps, they would have coughed out blood and flew outwards a long time ago. This individual seemed to have merged with heaven and earth, a terrifying might exuding from his being. Shahao's expression became grave, treating this with incomparable seriousness. He knew that he had encountered a terrifying opponent. Grey-colored mists pervaded the air, as if hell was approaching this world. It was incomparably dark and cold. It was close, a humanoid existence who didn't walk too quickly, but using the earth to inches technique, now only 100 jong away. This person stopped moving. The grey fog surrounded that place, so his true appearance couldn't be seen. Only a pair of pupils peered through the grey mists, releasing a chilly radiance. No pupils could be seen, only an expanse of silvery whiteness. The grey fog scattered. Shahao produced the dual pupil, but even then, he couldn't see through it. This creature's eyes didn't look like they contained pupils, but instead shot out like blades. There were no human emotions, nor were there any mood fluctuations. Its entire being was ice-cold like stone. If not for him seeing that existence standing there, even if one used their divine senses to perceive it, one would overlook it. It was because it didn't display the characteristics of life, unable to feel a hint of blood energy from him. Who are you? Shahao asked. He didn't understand these strange changes. Even though he felt some apprehension, he still wanted to understand what exactly was going on. Be careful, he is the monster that will destroy Yudao Foundation. It's over, another tragedy has happened, this trial cannot be passed, the Void Sky Divine Vine said with a trembling voice, its body shaking all over. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? The divine striking stone berated. Grey mists pervaded the air. This person seemed like a demonic god from the underworld, standing there like a mountain. The pressure was so great it was hard for one to even breathe. He didn't say anything, nor did he display any reaction. The only thing that changed was that its eyes became more terrifying, staring at Shahao. It was like an ice-cold boulder, as well as like a wild beast. 5 Crown King passed the first ominous event. Don't tell me that I can't even do that. Shahao said. He gave the divine striking stone and Void Sky Divine Vine a look, reassuring them, it's different, this time, it's extremely dangerous. A monster with a true form. The Void Sky Divine Vine wanted to flee and leave this place, never to look back after doing so. There were no sounds, no breathing. The humanoid figure in the grey mist was incomparably apathetic, no fluctuation of life could be sensed from it. However, there was still an intimidating pressure. This lamp was formed from natural laws and pointed at this place, setting it as a coordinate. It was also precisely the reason for this creature's arrival. Could everything that was happening now really be explained with normal reasoning? Was the terrifying expert that came a living being? Regardless, there was no point in thinking further. There was only a battle from here on out. Shahao, ever since he made his first public appearance, experienced many life and death battles, to the extent where he even died once, being buried in the earth. So what else was there to be scared of? This was true even if he was facing a strange change. That creature moved, taking a step outwards. The 100 jong distance was immediately covered. The bronze spear pierced towards the space between Shahao's brows, vicious and accurate. This left Shahao greatly shaken up. The other party was too fast, unexpectedly matching his speed, tearing through the sky like a streak of lightning, immediately arriving before him. He brandished the great halberd. The shining snow-white halberd's blade was like a comet covered the sky, illuminating heaven and earth. It hacked down on that spear point, clashing together. Ear-splitting metallic sounds were released. At this moment, even the ancient bluestone paths were shaking. Space began to distort here, with many cracks forming. Shahao was greatly shaken up. His arm felt numb, and his ears were ringing with noise. This strike contained too much power, to the point where it was about to break his arm and make his blood energy surge. If this was anyone else, needless to say, their arms would all be blasted apart. This type of power was impossible to endure, exceeding the limits of this cultivation realm. After a brief moment of great pain, Shahao brandished the void halberd, taking the initiative to attack, hacking it at the other party. The snow-white halberd blade tore across the sky, leaving behind an enormous crevice. This was a precious halberd crafted from the bones of a void beast. Its power was boundless. The enemy's reaction speed was extremely fast, its ability to adapt great. Its hands moved the bronze spear horizontally, intending to face it head-on and fend off this attack. This was the most intense strike, using up both of these individuals' greatest strength. It was ferocious and tyrannical to the extreme. An ear-splitting sound tore through the air. The most dazzling radiance erupted, shaking the skies. This type of power was enough to make other deities tremble in fear. Shahao's arm was in intense pain, feeling as if it was broken. The area between his thumb and forefinger split apart. This was a contest of physical strength, the most powerful collision, yet in the end, blood trickled between his fingers. The other party's strength was too ferocious. Finally, following another strike, the two separated, 100 zhong opening up between them, each side occupying their area. You are okay, right? The divine striking stone was fearful. It was because where Shahao stood, the ground was covered in red blood. All of it flowed out from his hands. His arms were shaking uncontrollably, the space between his fingers split apart and dripping with blood. It's no bother, Shahao said. How could he be fine? These types of collisions made his flesh feel a tremendous amount of pressure. If the strength was just a bit greater, he might have completely collapsed. This was the most terrifying, evenly matched opponent he had ever encountered in a combat of physical prowess. On the other side, grey mists surged. The ground was covered in blood as well, but it was black. It was rather horrifying, making one shiver inwardly upon seeing it. Kill. Shahao released a roar. His body surged with golden radiance and lightning rumbled. He completely erupted with power, using his most powerful strength to take action. He held the void halberd in one hand, and together with the lightning Dao precious technique, he pushed his strength to the limit. His flesh and supreme secret method merged as he slaughtered his way forward to kill that existence. The grey fog surged. That person's aura changed, becoming like a black hole, devouring everything. The fog turned a black color as if dyed by ink, making one's heart tremble. It was as if the gate to hell had been opened. The halberd in Shahao's hand was stopped by the bronze spear, while the endless lightning released by through the lightning emperor's precious technique slammed into the fog. This place became completely chaotic. Something terrifying happened. All of the lightning, the endless sea of electricity disappeared into the black fog with no hope of returning, thus disappearing. What is going on? Shahao was shocked. He had never encountered such a terrifying opponent before. One had to understand that this was the lightning emperor's precious technique, known as one of the world's most powerful offensive divine abilities. Who at the same level could take it head-on? Even if they did block it, how could all of the lightning be erased? The black fog surged. It wasn't that the other creature suffered no losses. In the end, his entire being flew outwards, smashing into the other end of the bluestone path. However, the lightning mysteriously disappeared, not blasting through him. This was the most terrifying and sinister part. How could it be like this? Shahao's pupils shone incomparably brilliantly. He sensed the seriousness of the situation. Kill. He rushed over again. Lightning erupted endlessly. He urged on endless lightning, sending them hacking down on that creature again, not believing that it could still erase them completely. Another unexpected event happened. On the other side, the creature was just like him, releasing lightning, but it was a black-colored lightning. Its power was boundless, terrifying to the extreme. It was similar to his precious technique. The two types of lightning clashed together, divine light surging outwards. The world was in chaos. How could this be? From the distance, even the divine striking stone trembled. How could this type of opponent appear, actually stopping the lightning emperor's precious technique? One side used resplendent lightning, while the other had black lightning. Both sides opposed each other with equal harshness, their powers similarly great, to the extent where even their methods of releasing their attacks were similar. This entire place was in disorder from the intense battle. The bluestone path was shaking, lightning roiling like seas between the two, terrifying to the extreme. Shahao found it difficult to calm down. He firmly believed that the other party possessed the lightning emperor's precious technique, just like him, proficient in this ancient forbidden secret method. What kind of background did this existence have, to unexpectedly understand an unmatched forbidden precious technique? Now, he was sure that the other party grasped the lightning emperor's precious technique, as well as the Kuanpeng technique, and its proficiency in them wasn't any bit weaker than his. I have to change how the way things are going. Shahao's eyes became firm. He knew that he had to change things up, or else there was going to be a huge problem. If I use different techniques, are you going to become proficient in all of them? Immediately afterwards, Shahao moved, his entire body igniting. Bone texts interweaved, shining with great brilliance. Every single precious technique he had ever studied appeared, all of them released at this moment. They swept outwards, slaughtering towards this person. When the reincarnation technique appeared, a wave of decaying aura spread from the other party's body. Then, the Lightning Emperor's precious technique, Kuan Peng technique, 9 Heavens Calamity Light, and others were all displayed. This time, the creature in the black fog was blasted flying, his flesh cracking apart, after taking on this unfathomable attack. Shahao rushed over with the void halberd in hand, delivering a follow-up attack. During this process, he was horrified, because he discovered that the reincarnation technique's symbols unexpectedly appeared on the other party's body as well. This was simply unimaginable, except death. His actions were fast. The lightning wings, Kuan Peng wings, earth to inches great divine ability, all three combined together. This was a speed that transcended the limit. Success. The dazzling sharp halberd blade hacked down the moment the other party's bone texts lit up, piercing through that person's chest, nailing him to the ground. At the same time, the black fog was scattered. Shahao saw his true appearance. In that instant, his eyes widened, his body trembling. His eyes released blazing radiance, as if they were burning. Even his heart was trembling. He was shaken too badly. This person's appearance was too similar to his, only, his hair was ash-colored, a bit aged, like his own self in the future. How could it be like this? Shahao roared. The clothes this person wore were similar to the immortal ancient clothing the bone books recorded. Meanwhile, the short spear that pierced through his brows was too ancient, covered in rust. At this moment, Shahao unexpectedly felt a mournful feeling. If there really was reincarnation, was this, himself? Was the elder from immortal ancient era, who met such a sorrowful end him? When his mind reached this point, his heart began to pound. He was shaking, and a wave of sadness came over him. This type of declining end was too miserable and bleak. From his clothing and weapon, this person looked extremely ancient, and might truly be someone from the immortal ancient era. Was there really reincarnation? Shahao didn't dare imagine what it could be like. If there was a previous incarnation, was I truly this lamentable? Anyone who saw this type of him would feel sadness. An old man, ash-colored hair scattered about, eyes dim, body dripping with black blood. Something extremely terrifying had clearly happened that caused him to be in such miserable circumstances. And now, he was even killed by someone who had the same appearance as him. When he thought up to this point, Shahao felt rather mournful inside. How could this be? This truly made him feel dispirited. He was a bit absent-minded. He thought of too many things. Reincarnation, final destination, last great era, the present world. Suddenly, he snapped back to reality. What was going on? His Dao heart was sturdy and immovable, and even if he encountered this type of lamentable event, he shouldn't let his mind waver during a battle. Shahao woke up. He felt like his own mood had been influenced by some type of mysterious power. Otherwise, he shouldn't be in this type of absent-minded state. At his cultivation realm, his emotions shouldn't be fluctuating so greatly. In that instant, Shahao's eyes became clear, his Dao heart steady. His primordial spirit shone, his forehead shining brilliantly. It was precisely at this moment that he noticed the one pierced by the great halberd's entire body was interweaving with bone texts. That was the reincarnation technique shining and on the verge of forming, about to erupt. This type of symbol was extremely resplendent, immediately rushing out. It was a bit different from the splendid precious technique Shahao displayed. The light this person released was dark and terrifying. This was dark light, and right now, it was firing out expanse after expanse, bringing with it a great shower of brilliance. Of course, those light specks were all black, dark and gloomy, as well as possessing a type of corrupt aura. Immediately afterwards, Shahao's eyes became cold. He took action ruthlessly. Bone texts interweaved, and from his body, all types of symbols rushed out, forming divine swords, Dao bells, divine pagodas, and other things. Moreover, he circulated the true primordial record, turning the rotten into the miraculous, suppressing outwards with full force. This strike caused this creature that was already cracking apart to break, splitting from the waist into two pieces. This existence on the ground didn't have any aura of life, no blood energy fluctuations, and even less emotions to speak of, but at this moment, he spoke, "You killed me." Black blood flowed out from his mouth, his eyes growing dim, his gaze scattering. His voice was extremely ancient, carrying a type of sadness. Shahao's gaze became calm. He lowered his head and looked down on this individual, pulling out the halberd with a peaceful expression. Why? Within the muddled eyes were perplexity. His lips were black, carrying an aura of decay as he asked. Suddenly, Shahao raised the great halberd and forcefully hacked downwards ruthlessly. In that instant, the dazzling white halberd blade was like a comet flying across the heavens, illuminating the great earth, as well as illuminating Shahao's eyes. He was resolute and firm, without any hesitation. His will was steady like steel. A light sound rang through the air. He hacked this person apart, cleaving him vertically. The black-colored blood splashed far into the distance, landing on the bluestone path. It was a ghastly sight. Who is it that killed me, and who am I? That shadow released a final voice, and then no longer moved. In addition, his body began to decay, creating a large pool of black liquid. Shahao remained calm as he stood there, not saying anything for a long time. He was killed just like that. However, he was the exact same as you. Don't tell me there really is some kind of relationship. The divine striking stone said. It saw everything clearly from the distance, feeling that the events that took place today really were too strange and ominous. There was no way to explain any of it, just a strange change. Forget about being a corpse that is the same as myself. Even if it was a living person that is exactly the same as myself, it still wouldn't move my Dao heart. Shahao's eyes were extremely clear, his Dao heart unwavering. Are you really not scared of there being some type of relationship? The divine striking stone asked. As for the flesh and black blood, they no longer existed either. Following a light breeze, they were all blown away like dust. Shahao wanted to obtain that bronze spear, but in the end, as soon as it left the ground, it crumbled apart inch by inch, turning into bronze rust that scattered onto the ground. This was the case with that short spear impaled within the strange being's head as well. It directly turned into powder as if eroded by the wind, similarly blown away like dust. Under the force of time, everything should have long become one with the earth, yet he managed to retain his body all this time, only returning to the world after being broken now. Shahao said softly. He now believed even more firmly that this was a corpse left behind from the immortal ancient era. Just like before, he guided over the bluestone path's Dao flames, burning all of the dust, particles and everything clean, erasing them from existence to prevent something unexpected from happening. There is only a single me in this world. My Dao heart will not be shaken. Shahao said, you actually made it through, successfully killing him. The void sky divine vine was trembling with fear. It reached out its head from behind the divine striking stone. When it was now sure that the ominous events had passed, only then did it release a sigh of relief. There are different strange changes towards those of different cultivation realms, right? Shahao thought to himself. The void sky divine vine continuously nodded its head. In the past, Five Crown King also came to a similar conclusion. He felt that there was some type of hidden plot, some rules, that there are living creatures and great terrors. Shahao silently thought to himself for a long time. He didn't feel fear, and instead, his eyes became even more firm and persistent. I am looking forward to seeing what will appear next time. He began to nurse his injuries, quietly recovering. Just now, it was as if he was fighting against himself. It was too difficult, actually fighting for more than 2,000 exchanges. His arms were about to break, the area between his thumb and forefinger split apart. Large amounts of blood had been spat out. A day and night later, Shahao opened his eyes. He didn't waste his time, continuing to attack at the breakthrough point, guiding 1,400 streaks of fiery light to burn his true self. This was a life and death grind. As the fiery lights increased, the bluestone paths lighting up one after another, Shahao's path became more and more difficult. This time, he almost burned himself into a cripple. 1,400 spheres of light appeared in his body, all of them containing symbols and interweaving with bone texts. They were forging his flesh, burning his primordial spirit. He barely made it through. When everything concluded, Shahao was laying on the ground while facing the sun, not budging an inch. He didn't look like a human anymore at all. If not for the piece of divine medicine in his mouth, he might have directly died in meditation. Youngster, can you not scare us like this? Cultivation shouldn't be carried out like this. You are burning away your life. Don't continue this anymore, this path is too dangerous. The divine striking stone said. Unforeseen events had even happened to those of ancient times who continued like this. None of them had good conclusions. Soon after, Shahal began to attack at the limit again, not willing to stop. He even felt that something might be different once he ignited the 1500th flame. It was because he was reaching the halfway point of the 3000 bluestone paths. The strange changes are more and more vicious each time. If it comes again, you most likely won't be able to survive. Don't continue trotting down this path already. The Void Sky Divine Vine warned, from what Five Crown King experienced, after the two strange changes I've already experienced, there should be a gap between when the next one will appear. Shahal said. He insisted on igniting 1500 flames, because this was half of the total amount. He felt that it would allow his strength to increase a bit further, his path to divinity becoming even more sturdy. With an increase in strength, he might be able to deal with the strange changes easier. Fiery light surged, engulfing the 9 heavens. This type of scene was extremely shocking. This time, Shahal's flesh was almost completely destroyed. Countless symbols appeared, flickering and interweaving on his bones and withered body. Apart from this, his primordial spirit shrunk, becoming even more condensed and resplendent, releasing holy light within the fiery radiance. His brilliant primordial spirit shrunk about 50% from its original fist-sized self. This wasn't a weakening of his cultivation, but rather condensation, refinement, the result of improvement. It became more and more translucent, almost like a crystal. His primordial spirit was becoming stronger. However, this time, it was more dangerous than anything he had faced in the past. This was a type of torture. The 1500 streaks of fiery light burned his body, half of the bluestone paths ignited, illuminating the heavens above and earth below. Shahal was almost burned to ruin. When everything ended, he clenched his teeth and sat down, forcefully enduring the urge to faint. Even with the divine medicine, he still used more than 10 days, and only then did he slowly recover. He was now truly different. After Shahal recovered, when he operated magical force, divine multicolored light surged. Mists of radiance shone hazily, accompanied with a few irregular scenes. This was not released from his body, but rather something the world produced and displayed for him. Shahal felt a powerful wave of strength swirling within his body. He revealed a look of shock. He already reached the mid-stage of the divine flame realm. What a pity, the divine medicine was completely used up. He released a light sigh. Only a small piece of the vine was left of the Void Sky Divine Vine. It couldn't be eaten any further, or else its foundational energy would be greatly injured. I should take a look around the outside world. I wonder if Lana Chen and Luo Dao found a few rare great medicines. When it heard him say this, the Void Sky Divine Vine completely relaxed, releasing the apprehension it felt inwardly. I should give this new power a try as well. See the results of my isolation cultivation. Shahal said. At the same time, the consumption of this path was enormous as well. He already used up an entire stalk of divine medicine, so what was he going to use from here on forth? It gave him quite the headache. Suddenly, Shahal thought of something. He asked the Void Sky Divine Vine, I previously saw you turn into a snow-white tortoise that carried a white-clothed woman. What kind of medicine is that? Did you see it before? I did see it before. That is a long-life medicine that had survived from the immortal ancient era. It previously belonged to an immortal. The Void Sky Divine Vine nodded. Shahal was immediately interested, his eyes shining with brilliance. There is a mysterious medicinal garden here with all types of divine medicines, all of them promising longevity. For example, the vermilion fruit, Chiline tree, and others, as well as the long-live panacea. The mysterious immortal ancient medicine garden was full of all types of divine herbs. There was even a long-life medicine. Shahal's eyes immediately lit up like two little suns. He was now looking forward to this greatly. However, the Void Sky Divine Vine's next words immediately left him dispirited, telling him that the ancient garden was extremely difficult to find, that it was floating in the sky. In addition, even if he saw it, he wouldn't be able to enter. It was because even if a heavenly deity entered, they would still die. Shahal sighed. Right now, he needed immortal medicines extremely badly, or else his road ahead was going to be extremely difficult. If he continued along this path, his body would die and his Tao would be extinguished. There was no good result. It seemed like he still had to increase his strength first. In his opinion, since he was going to be an immortal ancient for a long time, he was going to get an opportunity sooner or later. At the same time, he thought of something else. Are there many heavenly deities here? There are some special regions where they do exist. In the areas where you all move about, normally speaking, you shouldn't run into any. The void sky divine vine said. Immortal ancient was vast and boundless, difficult to explore through its entirety. How long has it been since we entered? Shahao asked the divine striking stone. He had been cultivating all this time, to the extent where he even lost track of time. He didn't experience the passage of time, a year and a half. The divine striking stone said, telling him the exact amount of time that had passed. Not too bad, a lot shorter than what I had imagined. I thought several years had already passed. Shahao said. He looked at the emperor butterfly, discovering that it had turned into a golden cocoon. After eating that red coral holy medicine, the emperor butterfly formed a cocoon and entered a dormant state, not awakening this entire time. Before, even though the emperor butterfly had wings, that was just a crystallization of divine force and not true butterfly wings. Meanwhile, it was always a fleshy golden bug that was a bit like a cocoon. Let's go, we're going to make a trip around those small worlds and see how our old friends are doing. Shahao's mood was quite good. After reaching the mid-stage of the divine flame realm, his strength had improved greatly. There was a type of feeling like he had energy to waste. They arrived at the site where they first saw the void sky divine vine. Shahao had previously agreed with Lana Chen and Luo Dao to meet here. Only due to his isolation cultivation, the agreed date had long passed. There was a line of text in a hidden corner. Our location was written, Radiant City. This was clearly inside of a different small world, presumably a rather well-known location. Otherwise, they wouldn't have only left behind such a simple line of text. The bubbles were misty, the small worlds numerous. They were all interconnected, forming a vast and boundless immortal ancient. Shahao entered a small world, and soon after, he ran into a few creatures. They all came from the higher realms, who had now become deities. He inquired about Radiant City from them. These individuals all carried vigilance out of fear of being attacked, and as such, they only conversed with him from far away. It was because even though they all came from the higher realms, there would still be fights from time to time. That city is quite well known, located in Radiant Realm. Many divine flame realm experts have headed there to exchange various heavenly treasures. When Shahao heard this, he nodded and expressed his thanks. Using the coordinates he received from them, he once again headed for another small world. A year and a half had already passed. Most of the geniuses that entered Immortal Ancient ignited their divine flames, all of them searching for their own natural luck after becoming powerful. There were many spiritual medicines in this place, and even picking holy medicines wasn't a rare event. If one's luck was good enough, even picking up the heavenly deity fruit recorded in bone books and achieving instant success wasn't completely impossible. Several hundred cultivators had entered, many of them interacting with each other. From time to time, they would even exchange various magical artifacts, medicinal herbs, and other things as needed. It was to the extent where they would even exchange a bit of secret information. Radiant City began to flourish precisely because of this reason. This was actually an ancient city that had existed for a long time. Rumor has it that each time Immortal Ancient was opened up, this place would be extremely bustling. It would always become an important open market. It was to the extent where even a few geniuses with comparatively weaker cultivations, who didn't want to take risks, took residence here, not going out to look for natural luck, but instead calmly running business here, becoming businessmen. There are 100 similar cities, each distributed in different small worlds. They are all important gathering places used by cultivators to exchange natural luck. However, Radiant City should be one of the largest 10 ancient cities. There were people who were traveling in the same direction around them. All of them were heading for the enormous city up ahead, wishing to exchange the wondrous medicines, techniques, divine precious materials, and other things they had. Not too long ago, someone brought out 3 divine fruits, stirring up quite a commotion. Along the way, quite a few people were discussing amongst themselves. Shahao was interested, asking them for more information. I believe they were silver fruits produced by an evil dragon tree. If one eats one, they don't have to cultivate, and will directly break through into the true self realm. Someone said, it's that miraculous. Shahao was shocked. A fruit that could immediately promote one to a true deity, this was extremely heaven-defying. Naturally, there are things even more formidable than this, only, no one would exchange those items. Someone said, who purchased those evil dragon fruits? Shahao asked, brother, I advise you not to set your eyes on those. No matter what price you pay, you won't be able to buy them, and will instead only throw away all of the precious goods you have on you. Someone warned with a soft voice. Why is that? Shahar was confused. Those things, rather than saying it was exchanged, it might be better to say that they were forced to hand them over and then gifted them to those ancient freaks. Will you be able to buy it from those people? When Shahar heard this, he frowned. Did all of the ancient freaks emerge? He then learned the answer to this question. They didn't emerge. Instead, the more powerful those legendary individuals were, the slower they were to come out. There were many who were still cultivating, wishing to exceed the limits of legends. How can they exceed the limits of the realm? Shahar was moved. A few ancient freaks, for example, the glorious Six-Crown King and others that have dazzled past and present, do you think they will enter the divine flame realm just like us? They wish to become deities through irregular means, walking different paths. Once they emerge, a single one of them will be enough to slaughter all of us, becoming unmatched under the heavens. Isn't that boasting too much? Shahar curled his lips. Before approaching the city, Shahar asked those that were traveling in the same direction about things that he had to watch out for. No fierce battles are allowed in the city. If there are any grudges, then they must be resolved outside the city, or else the anger of everyone will be provoked and they will target you. This was a type of restriction that was set out of fear that Radiant City would be destroyed. All cultivators had to comply with this to ensure its peace, allowing for a smooth exchange of divine materials. Do not provoke the natives of Immortal Ancient. Someone else warned. Shahar didn't have time to roam about too many of these small worlds, and as such, what he understood was extremely limited. He earnestly listened to their advice, and what he learned left him quite shocked. The natives were divided into two types. One type couldn't be approached, residing in mysterious areas and extremely dangerous. These were Immortal Ancients, most ancient creatures. There was another type of so-called natives, who were the descendants of geniuses from the higher realms, who, due to unforeseen events, weren't able to leave Immortal Ancient. These natives were powerful as well, but they maintained a principle of not bothering others who didn't bother them. Those natives came to Radiant City to exchange treasures as well. Those old fellas among the natives, how strong are they? Shahar asked. The first types of natives I don't know too much about. The second type are extremely strong, but it wouldn't be too heaven-defying, because I heard that even though outsiders like them have taken residence here, once they reach a certain cultivation realm, they would all mysteriously die or go crazy. This information left Shahar surprised. Someone had said that this was something the primordial immortal ancient creatures did. Someone said softly, it might not be true. Those primordial creatures are all hiding without coming out. They entered the city, all of them separately exchanging for what they needed. This city was extremely large, and a faint golden luster that was divine and auspicious was released from it. There was a simple and unadorned Tao aura. You're crazy. They can steal things from others outside the city, but if you dare take action, you'll undoubtedly die. Shahar heard all of this before even walking that far into the city. He immediately understood a bit about Radiant City. Has anyone seen Lana Chen or Luo Dao? Shahar asked around casually, looking rather carefree. From the side, there were immediately people who shot him a look, revealing strange looks. On the side, the eyes of a divine flame realm expert, who had a stall set up shone. You know them. I'm their big bro. Have you seen them? Shahar asked, do you want to know? If you walk out of the city gates right now, there might be news of them. This divine flame realm cultivator chuckled. Is that so? Then I'll go take a look. Shahar nodded, turning around and walking towards the city gate. He knew that something unexpected might have happened to those two. Moreover, the disturbance those two stirred up didn't seem to be small, as quite a few people knew about it. Even though that divine flame realm cultivator's character was lacking, now that Shahar walked out of the city gates like this, if anyone else was looking for those two, then they would definitely surround him. It was because the city didn't allow for fighting, while outside the city, all grudges could be settled, purely seeking death. The cultivator that put up the stall laughed coldly. As he watched Shahar's back, he didn't feel any sympathy, but rather a type of joy in calamity. Shahar walked rather casually, completely carefree, leaving the city just like that. Sure enough, there were creatures that followed, moreover the number that did wasn't small, numbering over 10. Soon after, Shahar returned, still asking where Lana Chen and Luo Dao were. It was still the same place. That vendor raised his head, and then he was greatly shocked. He couldn't help but cry out. Didn't you leave just now? How could you have returned? From his perspective, leaving the city like that would undoubtedly result in death. Spare my life. I didn't do it on purpose. He was sweating buckets, sitting straight onto the ground. He felt like he definitely ran into some monster, or else how could he dare eat a creature from such great powers just like that? Shahao didn't seem to mind that much. He picked up a stalk of holy medicine on the vendor's stall and said, "Rare great medicine. You were actually able to pick one. Just a coincidence. Gift for you." The vendor said with a trembling voice, "Then I'll have to give you my thanks. Can you tell me where those two went?" Shahao asked, "I really don't know. Many people are looking for them. However, I know that they obtained some kind of treasure that drew the jealousy of many great powers." The vendor said, "What kind of thing is it exactly?" "An Arctadic treasure unicorn." The vendor said, "What?" "The number one precious meat under heaven, what is known as the most delicious thing in this world." Shahao immediately became angry. The vendor was stupefied. He always felt like something was wrong. Why did the reason for this person's anger seem a bit off? Arctadic treasure unicorn was at the top of the archaic Arctadic treasures. Even though it was known as the number one meat dish under heaven, the greatest value was not on its deliciousness, but its shocking medicinal value. Regardless of whether it was holy medicine or divine medicine, if it was slow cooked together with it, it would increase the medicinal effects several times. It could be said to be priceless. Who dares to scheme against my precious food? Are they courting death? Shahao was furious. The vendor was speechless. He was now sure that he didn't hear wrongly. Why did this person seem like a foodie? He didn't feel regret over its medicinal value, but rather felt angry and a sense of loss over its deliciousness. There are quite a few great powers that took action, including divine Dark Child's people, Immortal Palace's people, as well as those under the ancient freaks. Those people are looking for death. Shahao said. Those two have said that the Arctadic treasure unicorn already has an owner, and soon after, that person will come looking for it. Only, those people from a few great powers threatened them. What were they threatening them with? Shahao asked. They threatened that as long as those behind them came, that individual's head would be smashed into dog brains. The vendor said extremely carefully, "I am hungry." Shahao spoke these 3 words. Moreover, he told Shahao that even if he paid them a visit now, those leading figures still couldn't be found, because there were normally only ordinary experts overseeing those places. The true exceptional talents wouldn't just sit around, all of them out looking for opportunities, only coming back every so often. As for the ancient freaks, there was even less of a need to think about them. They hadn't appeared all this time, all of them having strong followers who gathered precious treasures and dealt with these matters. What are you scared of? If you follow me, who will dare touch you? Don't tell me that those great powers made others feel reverence from birth. All of it was obtained through fighting, right? Shahao said, "Great one, what are you trying to say?" The vendor Lu Yi asked, his heart worried. "Once you become the member of a great power, in the future, who will dare kill you? You'll be just like them." Shahao said with a slight smile. Lu Yi was shocked. He looked towards Shahao, and after making sure he didn't hear incorrectly, great waves stirred within his heart. Was this Devil King also going to overlook Radiant City and form a power? Let's go, guide me around. Let's see where those disgraceful things are staying. Shahao began to walk. Lu Yi hurriedly followed, feeling a bit moved, but even more apprehension and uneasiness. He urged, "Great one, you cannot act randomly. The city's rules cannot be broken, or else you will be surrounded by all different powers. If someone like Divine Dark Child or an ancient freak is provoked, then no one will be able to stop them." Shahao nodded and said, "I know, just want to look around." Then, he added, "Trying to steal my Arctadic treasure unicorn, I'll make sure all of you face the consequences." This type of thing was incredibly precious, something that could be stumbled upon, but not wished for. From a certain perspective, it was comparable to the greatest divine ancient medicine, because it could increase medicinal effects several-fold. At the entrance of the mansion stood a few underworld clan members, guarding this place. They were all like corpses, lacking the life force of normal people, their gaze indistinct. "I hate this clan the most. Having a corpse stench, ice cold, can't even eat them, no value to their existence at all. Absolute trash." Shahao commented randomly. The vendor Lu Yi almost fell from fright. Speaking these types of words outside Divine Dark Palace, if they heard him, wasn't this the same as courting death? One has to understand that Divine Dark Child was too terrifying, previously emerging himself once, unleashing bloodbaths in several small worlds. Corpses and bones were piled up into heaps, leaving others terrified to the extreme. This battle alone already established his unmatched divine might. Afterwards, he went into isolation cultivation, no longer appearing. Forget about the Divine Dark Child. Just the few exceptional talents under him, the ones known as the 6 Underworld Generals, are all extraordinary. They almost killed Luo Dao and Lana Chen, making them flee while covered in blood. Is that so? When I get the chance, I'm going to slaughter them all. Shahao said coldly. He couldn't forgive this. Someone actually wanted to fight over the Arctadic treasure unicorn, forcing Luo Dao and Lana Chen to run, and even chasing them until they were covered in blood. He was going to demand an explanation from them. And who are you? Don't loiter around here. If you have rare treasures, you can come back here to exchange them. There were some who spoke, their voices ice cold. There was a ghostly energy wafting over that made others feel extremely uncomfortable. I want to ask, do either of you know where Lana Chen and Luo Dao are? Shahao asked indifferently. From the side, Lu Yi began to tremble, his entire body going cold. This fella truly wasn't easy to deal with. He was clearly about to stir up a huge disaster, making him both scared, but also excited. Could it be that this truly was a monster? Someone comparable to the ancient freaks? Ha ha, you really ask the right people now. I do know where they are. They are right outside the city. An elder said with a smile. An underworld clan expert appeared, looking in this direction. Why don't I show you the way? The old underworld being chuckled, his eyes swirling with dark light. Sure. Shahao nodded. He invited Shahao into the manor. There was a transport formation in the very first floor's courtyard. A group of underworld beings stepped on it. Great one, don't do it. There will likely be arrangements made at the other end of the transport formations. It might very well be where those exceptional talents are cultivating in isolation. Lu Yi secretly transmitted, feeling incomparably anxious. He didn't really do this out of loyalty, but instead out of fear that he would be throwing his own life in as well. Isn't it just some underworld generals? What do they count as? I actually want us to be directly sent into Divine Dark Child's place of isolation, saving me quite a bit of trouble. Shahao secretly replied, youngster, be sure to stand well and not fall off. Sometimes, when one falls, they might never stand up again. The old underworld being said in a dark and indistinct voice, lead the way. Shahao only had these words. He secretly nodded. Not even a great power like Divine Dark Palace dared to break the rules of the city, going to take action when they left the city. It seemed like the various agreements made within the city were still quite effective. Dark light flashed. The group of people left this place, appearing inside an enormous mountain valley. Not good, this is Underworld Clan's slaughtering field. There was always news about its creation, but who would have expected that it had already been completed? Lu Yi cried out in alarm, dare to enter my Divine Dark Palace and provoke us. Neither one of you can think about leaving. Both of you will be slaughtered clean. The Underworld Clan elder said. Those underworld beings disappeared. Meanwhile, black-colored fog surged endlessly from all directions. This was a great formation. Killing energy overflowed into the heavens, covering this place in a black expanse that stretched as far as the eye could see. Where are Luo Dao and Lana Chen? In the darkness, Shahao asked, running like stray dogs. They'll be caught sooner or later. You are the one behind them, right? If you are killed and hung in front of Radiant City like a wild dog, I believe they will definitely have a clearer view of things. The elder spoke in a cold manner. Is that so? Shahao replied indifferently, standing right behind him. The elder quickly escaped, running within the formation. However, he discovered with shock that the youth behind him followed him like his shadow, practically sticking right to his body. It was clear that the other party had locked onto him, and that he couldn't escape. The path he had walked was no secret, narrowly being turned into a passage out. Shahao didn't have the divine striking stone with him to break the formation. He could solve this issue with his great speed alone. Ask Underworld General to take action. The elder shouted. The so-called Underworld Generals were exceptional talents, and not truly Underworld clansmen, individuals who allied with Divine Dark Child, or powerful experts, who were defeated by him. Only, recently, things had been quite dull and uninteresting. The sect masters from various sects used great magical force to carve characters on the immortal Dao flower's petals, but many of them never appeared, being covered in mist. It was clear that the Great Tao was covering them. These individuals were all exceptional, hidden from the view of outsiders while undergoing isolation cultivation. I wonder if that Huang emerged yet. We haven't written his name for several months. We should give it a try again. Someone said. Radiant City, in front of Immortal Palace. By asking about those two in front of us, are you provoking us? A youngster walked out with his arms behind his back. His eyes were releasing golden light. Shahao saw through his original form. This was a golden crane. He immediately thought of the great battle of 7 deities in the lower realm. The old servant who came from Immortal Palace was precisely a golden crane, the one that ultimately inflicted that curse on him. Only by splitting his own supreme being bone, offering himself as a blood sacrifice, risking it all did he defeat the other party. By doing this, he already dug his own grave. I am their big bro. I heard that Immortal Palace forced them, demanding the Arctadic treasure unicorn, which is why I came to ask about it. So how did this turn into a provocation? It was clearly you all who chased after my old friends. Shahao said, you think you are that strong? Just because you are an exceptional talent, you can challenge my Immortal Palace's dignity. The youngster berated. Following a cold laugh, he called over a group of experts. It was clear that this violated the city's regulations. However, Immortal Palace acted domineeringly, wishing to slaughter him without leaving behind any trails. This way, no one would learn about this. Are you all looking to die? Shahao said calmly, what do you count as, yet you dare to speak these words? My Immortal Palace's Great One is about to come out of isolation. After merging with immortal blood, achieving the Tao through a different path, killing you will be like slaughtering a chicken. Coming here to provoke us is purely seeking death. The youngster's pupils shone with specks of golden light. With his hands behind his back, his head was raised as he looked at Shahao. Without saying another word, Shahao grabbed him, dragged him over, and then began to slap his mouth. The sounds were ear-splitting. The surrounding people were shocked. This speed was too great. They didn't have any time to react at all. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.